go anywhere.
Okay.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It's What's the Buzz? It's Tuesday night on the WWTF Radio Network. I'm the Mad Dog. I am Mad Dog DeCipio, joined as I am each and every week by the Pitbull Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman. How you doing, kid?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this evening?
I'm wonderful. I'm stoked because we got a really interesting show. I had to put a disclaimer out, for this one. Because, YouTube has been kind of age restricting our videos here lately, folks. And that's okay with me. Believe it or not, the more they do that, the more people go and watch.
Oh, yes.
It's a funny thing. It's strange. What we're going to do tonight is we actually got a series of shows that Amelia and I have been doing. Tonight, we're going to take a look at the cult of Charles Manson. The Manson family, as they were called back in 68, 69. Believe it or not, I remember back then because I was around when that was happening. And giving away my age a little bit. But we're going to talk about that. We have a special guest tonight. We had to hide her in silhouette. And I need to tell you why. This woman, she's an unassuming young lady. Her name is Courtney Jacobs Katana. She is the Charles Manson Facebook group admin. One of them, I should say.
We're not going to say what group.
Huh?
We're not going to say what group.
Well, no. It's just a Charles Manson group. And there's about 5,000 of them on there. So there's a shitload of them. There's a lot. Courtney is in... kind of in silhouette tonight. You won't see her face, but you will hear her. That is to protect her visual identity, so she doesn't get, hated on. There's a lot of haters in the community, especially on Facebook. God knows if you ever want to test that theory, just join one of those god-awful fucking wrestling pages because they're fucking horrible. 5 minutes into the show and I dropped 2 F-bombs already.
Whoa.
Beautiful. That's going to be a good night.
That's why we're age restricted, folks. That's one of the reasons that we're going to continue being age restricted.
But before that... we have breaking news from the world of entertainment. Singer-songwriter Loretta Lynn, best known for the songs Coal Miner's Daughter, The Pill, and Dear Uncle Sam, died today. She was 90 years old. She is widely regarded as the queen of country music and is the top-selling female country artist in American music history. She will be missed by her family, her friends, and fans alike. Rest in peace, Loretta. Go make God smile.
Yes.
She was a hell of an entertainer, and if you're a fan of country music, there's a Loretta Lynn song playing somewhere for you.
Absolutely. And not many people knew that Crystal Gayle was her little sister.
Our friend, U2 Wavy, is in the chat room. Hey, Wavy, I've been trying to get a hold of you, brother. We got to talk. So hang out with us tonight. So let's get into what we're going to talk about tonight. We have the Manson cult tonight. Amelia and I have been doing a lot of kind of these cult shows. We just did an interesting, well, a forerunner to it. We did an interesting show about a woman named Amy Carlson. You talk about going from one extreme to the other. Amy Carlson worked at Burger King one year, and a year later was the head of 8 million people worldwide. I don't understand how that happens. Charles Manson, it can be said, very much the same about. Charles Manson was a talented singer-songwriter. And were it not for one fateful day in Southern California at the beach, we might be listening to Charles Manson music today instead of the Beach Boys or instead of Dennis Wilson or Brian Wilson. Certainly, he had an impact on the Hollywood community in the day. He was, as I said, he was an incredibly talented musician. Not much of a singer, but he was a hell of a songwriter, and he could play a pretty mean guitar, believe it or not. So, Amelia, before we get into the bones of this, because we're going to be here for a little bit, when did you become aware of Charles Manson, and what do you know about this cat?
Well, actually, I wasn't born at the time when he started, of course, all this crimes and stuff like that. But
Go ahead, rub it in, kid.
I was born at kind of like afterwards when I was hearing a lot of, when I guess my parents told me about Sharon Tate, they, were fans of that. And I was like, well, who is this person? Who is this person? Because, of course, he was trying to go back into court for parole, things like that. And I was like, well, why? Why was he doing this? Why was he in jail for these crimes? And my parents would explain well, he did this. I'm like, oh my gosh, why would he want to commit those crimes? So they were like, well, he didn't actually commit the crimes. He had people commit the crimes for him.
That's a very key point. I'm going to stop you there. That's a critical point. The reason it is because the state of California actually changed the law to accommodate this case. Continue.
Yes. And so they would, of course, air out, the trials of his. Sometimes they would do like the breaking news. Thank you for showing that. I love that, what you did. And they would, show, okay, here's this person who refers to as a helter skelter. And he had this little cross at one time and then a swastika. And I was like, oh my God, this man looks so evil. And he would be yelling at the people to be quiet and at the judge calling him a name. And I was like, oh my God, how would this man get away with this stuff? And he would just look at him so evil. But I think it was just because it was the system that, to me, did him wrong, basically, at first. That's why he was so angry. He had so much anger inside of him that nobody would listen to him.
Well, we're going to talk about that right now. Courtney, you are up to bat. You are an interesting individual in tonight's conversation because you are the admin of an interesting Facebook group called Charles Manson, The Truth. Now, we're going to uncover some truth tonight. What is the one thing in your estimation that you regarded as false before you knew the case and that you now regard as the truth? Tell me why your group is called The Truth.
Well, first of all, Helter Skelter has been debunked. Vincent Bugliosi has been totally debunked with all of that.
Explain, because I met Vincent Bugliosi.
Well,
I met him
Charles
years ago before he passed away. Go ahead.
Charles Manson was never trying to start a race war.
I absolutely agree with you.
He was first, I have to say it was not actually a cult. It was not what you would call a cult. It was a crime enterprise. They were all criminals, a bunch of criminals hanging out at a spawn ranch.
Okay, go ahead. You're with me so far. Go ahead. Okay.
And
so far you can
Charles being older than most of these kids and runaways and what have you, he kind of took on a leadership, and he played his prison games with their head too.
Absolutely.
And that's how he got over on most of them.
Let me tell everybody what Courtney is talking about, because I actually have video you're going to see tonight. Helter Skelter was never intended to be a race war. It was not then, and it cannot be regarded as a race war now. Let me tell you where that came from so you know the truth. So I'm going to give Courtney some truth to add to her website, The Truth. Here's the truth behind that. Vincent Bugliosi was the prosecutor in the Manson case, one of the prosecutors. He wrote a very sensational book called Helter Skelter. That book, if you want to call it a script, you'd be better off rather than calling it a book, because it reads like a movie script. It reads like a man trying to sell this book for a movie role. Okay, and that's what it reads like. Here's the problem with it. The book is filled with sensationalism, a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of razzle dazzle, but very little truth. Why? Here's why. Because people at the time couldn't handle this sort of truth. So he made his own truth up. And that's the truth about the truth. He made it up. Here's what William Randolph Hearst said many years ago. And we've talked about this, Amelia, on the show before.
Mm-hmm.
If the lie is greater than the truth, print the lie. In other words, if the rumor is more fantastic than the truth, go with the rumor. Why?
Exactly.
Because the rumor will get people talking.
Yep.
Just like they do in the wrestling business.
You get more bees with honey, in other words.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Vincent Bugliosi was a hard-nosed, hard-drinking, hard-cheating ex-cop that became a prosecutor. So you're talking about a guy that was a lawyer and a police officer in his lifetime. A smart guy, but he wasn't smart enough to put the simple truth, which was Charles Manson never killed anybody. I'm not defending Manson, and I want Courtney to understand this. I'm not defending Charles Manson. What I will defend is his right, his unequivocal right, to be as fucking loony as he wants to be, and to speak the trash that he wishes to speak. I'll defend that.
Right.
But I'm not defending Manson in any way, shape, or form, only in regards to they changed the law to convict him of murder. It's the first time in American judicial history that a man has been sentenced to prison for murder without ever committing a murder. Why did they do this?
Wow.
Because they regarded him, Amelia and Courtney, as so dangerous that he had to be taken off the street. And the only way to keep him in jail for the rest of his natural life was to convict him of murder. That was why they did it. They did not want him out on any circumstances, not even parole, good behavior, nothing. And it turned out that they were right, because the longer he spent in jail, the fucking loonier Charlie got. Now, Courtney, how did you get involved with this group?
Well, I had knew about Charles Manson and a lot of it from my dad growing up, because he was a teenager, probably he was your age, and he had the biggest crush on Sharon Tate. And that was how I just wanted to know about her. And all my life I thought, oh, wow, she's so beautiful. I want to know what happened. And then as I got older, I finally, got the facts. And I read a book when I was in high school by Nicholas Schreck that changed a lot of my thinking.
Yeah. Nicholas wrote a book. I'm going to tell everybody about what you're talking about. Nicholas wrote a book that really kind of exposed the Manson family in a very different way, in a very different light, in fact. A lot of people might be under the assumption that they were just runaways and drug addicts. That was true in some cases, but most of them came from very affluent families. Most of them came from money. That's how Charlie and the group, the family, were able to survive and eat. They came from money. A lot of these people came from Bobby Beaujolais was a musician who also substituted his income by doing porn. He was a porn actor.
You had Angela Lansbury's daughter, Dee Dee.
Yes.
She was bringing money to him.
Absolutely. That's true. That's absolutely true.
One of the reasons that I think that Charles Manson was dangerous is because his ties to Hollywood. He knew a lot of stuff on a lot of famous people. And like Terry Melcher, Doris Day's son.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that you're kind of missing the boat on, and I agree with you to some regard. I agree with you to some regard, but understand something. Hollywood, and I've been there. Okay, I know a lot. We've had them on the show. I know a lot of people in Hollywood. We've had a bunch of people on the show from Hollywood in the entertainment industry. Understand something, and it's real simple. There are two kinds of people that survive in Hollywood. The people who kiss ass and the people who don't give a shit. If you're the kind of person who kisses butt and brown noses, you're going to go a long way in Hollywood. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't give a rat's ass what people say about you, what they do, if you're that kind of person, you're going to become a star in Hollywood. You're going to go a long way and fast too. I've seen it.
I agree.
Yes.
I've seen it. Absolutely. So Terry Melcher, and you mentioned his name. Let's talk about Terry. Terry was a singer-songwriter producer. He had connections to the Beach Boys, the Dave Clark Five. He had connections to the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. He was a very well-connected guy in the music industry. He also happened to be very, very dear friends with Dennis and Carl Wilson, who were brothers of Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys. And that's how Terry came into the picture. You want to tell people, Courtney, a little bit about how they met, under what circumstances they met, so I don't sit here and talk all night?
Well, the rumor, this is a rumor. I'm not 100% sure, but
I'll correct you if you're wrong. Don't worry.
two of the girls got picked up by by Dennis, hitchhiking, and the family got into Dennis's house and into his life, and he introduced them to Terry. And then Charles wanted him to hear his music and all this, and Terry Melcher said, I can't do anything with you. You can't take direction. You can't be produced.
That's not quite true. That part, I've heard that before, and I've seen that written. That's been completely debunked. Here's the problem with regard to Charlie. He was given Terry Melcher's address and telephone number by Dennis Wilson, Brian Wilson's brother. Dennis Wilson and Carl Wilson were the brothers of Brian Wilson. All three of them were great musicians in their own right, but they were also all members of the Beach Boys at the time. The three brothers and Mike Love and Al Jardine, they were the Beach Boys, those five guys. Now, fast forward a little bit. Terry Melcher is at a party. He meets a young guy. Dennis Wilson is at a party. He's hanging out with his friends, and he says to Terry Melcher, I got a friend of mine. He's a pretty good songwriter. Can you do anything with him? His name is Charlie. If you can do something, let me know. I'll send him to see you. Terry says Send them by. Here's my, my phone number and my address. Give it to him, and sure enough, he did. So Charles Manson shows up at Terry Melcher's house. He knocks on the door, right? Knocks on the door. Terry opens the door. The meeting lasts 5 minutes, maybe less. As soon as Charlie opens his mouth, Terry Melcher realizes this guy's a loose cannon. I got to separate myself from him right away.
Yes.
That rejection, Courtney and Amelia, that cost everybody their life.
Yeah, innocent
That's
people.
when Charlie went ape shit. That's when Charlie started reading the Bible ferociously, claiming that he was Jesus. He even used to have the family hang him on a cross. They would do that. You can't make this shit up. You can't make this up. He thought he was like Amelia. We talked about it before.
Right.
All of these cult leaders have a God complex.
Yes, they do.
There's 3 things, Courtney, that we found in every cult: power, sex, religion. Those are the 3 things that all come down to a cult.
Yes.
Power of the leader, the ability to control sex, religious beliefs, and to garner money from people. They are very good at garnering money. They can ask for it, they can steal it, they can beg it, whatever the case. They get their money.
Yes.
And mostly they steal it. So talk to me, Amelia, a little bit about you and Courtney are talking about, the and I'm assuming that you're both younger than I. So why the fascination, Amelia, with Charlie Manson these days?
Oh yeah, a lot of people still want him to be him or to worship him because they still believe in his ways, and they still want his way of life to be around. I guess they believe that his innocence. They to this day, I hear that they have T-shirts that people still sell. They
And
have
that's a scary thought.
yeah, and lunch boxes, and I think you even said what was it, action figures. And I think
there's a Charles Manson, and I got to ask Courtney about this. Courtney, you gotta smarten me up, as they say in the wrestling business. You gotta smarten me up to this Charlie Manson action figure. What the hell is this all about?
I have no idea. I'd saw a picture of it though, and I don't know who makes it or what company or anything, but yeah, I've seen the Charlie figure. I think there's actually a couple of different poses.
There's the
outfits.
Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. There's a Ted Bundy.
Yes.
You can't make this shit up.
They're starting to make action
And
figures
I got
of the
news
serial
for you.
killers. Yes.
Hey, and I got news for you. Not for nothing, but they look pretty damn good. Whoever is doing the artwork on these action figures, they're doing a hell of a good job because they look pretty fucking good.
And I think there's baseball cards.
They have. This is the best part, though. Listen to this shit. The Charlie Manson one actually has a sample of his handwriting in it. It's got like he wrote letters to people from prison. And if you buy I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you buy a Charlie Manson action figure, you're going to get a sample of Charlie's actual handwriting because it comes with the action figure.
Yes.
I can't believe I fucking did that, but
Yes.
I had to.
there are people that they worship that. They won't. I mean,
and I don't understand that, Courtney.
I don't either. I come from the
mindset. You got to put me in that mindset. Where does that?
I mean, I don't get that at all. I come from the side of the victims. Doris Tate's work she did with victims' rights. Deborah still does it. That's my way, my side of it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that Doris Tate never blamed Charles Manson himself for her. She said he did not kill my daughter. That's her exact words. And people Charles Manson was a bad man. He was not a good man.
No.
He
Nope, not at all.
just did not kill the victims at Cielo Drive.
What
I think
Doris
that
Tate
Tex
actually
Watson
said
did.
was, what Doris Tate actually said was, Charlie did not murder my daughter, but he's responsible for her death.
Yes.
That's what she actually said. And how is he responsible? Because he ordered the execution of these people. That makes him responsible. That made the state of California change the law for his case. And interestingly enough, funny thing happened on the way to the jailhouse. As the court trial is going on, the president of the United States, Richard Nixon, at the time newly elected president of the United States, decided to fulfill a campaign promise. Can either of you guess what that promise was?
That he was already going to be guilty.
No.
He would
No.
get rid of the counterculture.
Well, that was part of it, Courtney, but you're onto it. What he did was, what President Nixon did was, he eliminated the death penalty.
Right.
Wow.
Charles Manson was sentenced to death.
They all
Wow.
were.
They
Yes.
all were. Yes, they all were. Here's what happened. During his campaign in 1968, Richard Nixon, before becoming president, said that he would abolish the death penalty as cruel and unusual. When he became president by a landslide, by the way, he kept his word and he eliminated the death penalty. And guess who the first person was that benefited from it? Good old Charlie Miles Manson.
Mm-hmm.
Let me introduce everybody to this subject of our show. Charles Miles Maddox Manson was born November 12th, 1934, and died November 19th, 2017. He was an American criminal and musician who led the Manson Family, a cult based in California in the late 1960s. Some of the cult members committed a series of 9 murders at 4 locations in July and August of 1969. This would be the first of several. In 1971, here's where it gets interesting. This is what everything hit the caca hit the fan, Amelia. In 1971, Manson was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of 7 people, including film actress Sharon Tate. And I agree, Courtney, she was an absolutely beautiful woman.
Yes.
When I was 13 years old, I had a hell of a crush on her.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution contended, this is Vincent Bugliosi, the prosecution contended that while Manson never directly ordered the murders, his ideology constituted the overt act of conspiracy, which in California at the time was punishable by death.
Mm-hmm.
Manson would often talk about the Beatles, including their eponymous 1968 album, The White Album, where we get Helter Skelter from. Manson felt guided by his interpretation of the Beatles' lyrics and adopted the Helter Skelter to describe an impending race war. This is not true. Let me tell you what Helter Skelter was. It was the rich versus the poor. That's what Helter Skelter was. It had nothing to do with black and white. Manson's notoriety was an emblem of insanity, violence, and the macabre influence of pop culture. Recordings of songs written by and performed by Manson were commercially released, starting with Lie, The Love and Terror Cult, 1970. By the way, if you're interested, on YouTube, there is a YouTube channel dedicated to every song Charlie Manson ever wrote and recorded. I'm not going to promote the name of that site. I will just tell you, if you're interested, it's on YouTube. It's an entire site dedicated to Charles Manson's music, and some of it's pretty good. After his incarceration, some of his songs were covered by various artists, including the Dave Clark Five, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. For a time, Manson had a job delivering messages for Western Union. Can you guys imagine that? Having Charlie Manson deliver a
No,
Western Union? But you got to give him a little bit of credit
I do that. I do
because
that.
he delivered for Western Union in an attempt to live a life free of crime.
Mhm.
However, he quickly began to supplement his income with petty theft. He was eventually caught in the year 1949, and a sympathetic judge sent him to Boys Town. If you're too young to remember or know what Boys Town is, I know what it is. It's a juvenile facility in Omaha, Nebraska. It's all young boys under the age of 16, and it still exists today.
Huh.
After 4 days of Boys Town, listen to this, only 4 days. 4 days of Boys Town, he and fellow student Blackie Nielsen obtained a gun and stole a car. They used it to commit 2 armed robberies on their way to the home of Nielsen's uncle in Peoria, Illinois. We should say that Blackie Nielsen's uncle was a hardened criminal that did time at Sing Sing in New York. The core members of Charlie Manson's group were Charlie Tex Watson, a musician and actor; Bobby Beaujolais, a porn actor and musician; Mary Bruner, Susan Atkins, Patricia Grenwinkle, and Leslie Van Houten. The women in Charlie Manson's family, this is the honest to God truth, you guys. Courtney, you're going to shit when I tell you. Listen to this one. The women in Charlie Manson's family were called Charlie's Angels. True but creepy. Honest to God, they were called Charlie's Angels.
Oh my goodness.
It's absolutely, you can't make it up. You
Uh,
can't make this shit up. So we're going to take, now Courtney, if I show a video, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
oh my goodness.
Now it's show and tell time, folks.
Yay, my favorite time.
Favorite time. Watch this.
Is Charlie Manson crazy?
Or whatever that means. Sure, he's crazy as mad as a hatter. What difference does it make? You know, a long time ago, being crazy meant something. Nowadays, everybody's crazy.
Manson is sort of a showman, like when he tried to, as he puts it, take me to a higher level. Or when I again asked him to define his unique charm.
What do you think it is about you that makes people want to be a part of whatever it is you're a part of?
I'm brand new. Everything I do is always brand new. I'm on the premise of reality. I walk a real road. I'm a real person inside. I'm not a phony. I don't put on no airs. I say what I think. You see what I'm saying?
Aren't you putting on an air now? Aren't you putting on an act for me?
When you look it back, see if it's an air. See it where you get it. And someone sees it and goes by and they say, hey, how you doing? I say, pretty good. How you be? Live in. Well, God, I guess you're my best friend, being I invented you.
You believe in God, Charlie?
Sure, I believe in myself. Why wouldn't I? Which one?
Are you Jesus Christ?
Which Jesus? There's all kinds of Jesuses. There's a black Jesus down in Florida. He's having a good time. There's a Mexican Jesus in Mexico. I mean, there's all kinds of Jewish Jesus. I mean, Jesus, you know. There's all kinds of Jesus coming back everywhere. And nothing can stop it. It's a consciousness that lives in your mind. You know.
This guy is loony as a fucking fruitcake.
Tell me if you could describe your childhood in a couple of sentences. How would you describe it?
I didn't have a childhood.
Tell me a little bit more. Tell me more.
I went to reform school in '43, And I've been fighting ever since.
Was it as bad as you describe in the book that was co-authored by Newell Emmons?
That wasn't my book.
That wasn't your book?
No.
But what about the parts describing your childhood and your experiences in reform school?
That was him writing the book.
So
that had anything to do
the part about that school in Indiana, that's not true, how you were treated?
Bits and parts of it are true, and bits and parts of it aren't.
Tell me how you would describe how bad it was for you in these reform schools.
A child don't know what bad is.
Well, he says in the book that you were raped, that you were beaten constantly.
Come on, man.
That's not true.
That's what he would like to believe. But there ain't nobody can do that.
So you're saying that that didn't happen?
No.
So you didn't have a lousy childhood then?
Yeah, I had a terrible childhood. But I'm from here.
In other words, it didn't get to you?
No, I've never sold out. They've never beat me. I haven't been beaten.
Tell me about your terrible childhood.
The child doesn't know what terrible is.
You don't want to talk about it, I think.
I'm telling you, a child doesn't know what terrible is.
Give me
what
a little
is terrible,
bit,
man?
Give me a little description of it.
What is terrible? You know, terrible. What does that mean, terrible?
I don't know. You used the word, so I'm trying to get you to
No, I
describe
didn't.
it.
He used the word in his book. I didn't. I'm not a sniveler. I don't cry. I don't snivel. I don't look for excuses to get off on other things.
Do you feel blame? Are you mad? Do you feel like wolves about referendums?
Something. The oven has SS written on it. I come out of the bakery in 1954. So someone's got to be killed. Somebody told somebody some lies and somebody's going to kill somebody. So I come out of the bakery pushing the broom, and they got this guy in the butcher shop and they're stabbing him to death. I'm walking a line. I'm not a snitch. I don't run and tell the cops tales. I stand on my own 2 feet. So one of them looks over and says, "Manson, get on the point." So I take the broom and I get on the point. And I'm watching and I'm thinking, that tramp better not move for me. If he moves to me, I'm going to take him home to his mama. You dig? So he doesn't move to me and I don't move to him. So they got this guy and they stabbed him to death. And you can't kill anyone in the kitchen in a penitentiary because it makes it bad for the food. It's bad for everyone. It creates a lot of paranoia. So they're cutting this guy in half. And they're trying to put him in the garbage can. They can't get him in the garbage can. So they cut him in half and bent him, and they got the elevator, and they're smashing the elevator down, trying to put him in the can. He's got half in one can and half in the other can, and they're trying to smuggle him out of the kitchen. And they smuggle him out of the kitchen, and I'm pushing the floor. The guy come up and says, "What happened?" I said, "What happened where?" He said, "What did you see?" I said, "See what? Where? What are you talking about?" "I don't see nothing, man. All my life, I've been on that line. I don't ever see anything. I know nothing. I know nothing. I'm zero. I don't get involved. I don't run and tell them cops protect me. I protect myself. And whatever happens, happens, man. People getting killed around me is no new thing. You come to prison, man, there's people getting killed in prison all the time. You go to San Quentin, these men, every time they walk the yard, they gotta wear, you got your, no, yeah, look, he gotta wear shields, man. In other words, you got all kinds of violence and fear that runs in these places. When you live a life like that, it becomes a natural thing, you know. I don't want to take my time going to work. I got a motorcycle and a sleeping bag and 10 or 15 girls. What the hell I want to go off and go to work for? Work for what? Money? I got all the money in the world. I'm the king, man. I run the underworld, guy. I decide who does what and where they do it at. When am I going to run around and act like I'm some teeny bopper somewhere for somebody else's money? I make the money, man. I roll the nickels. The game is mine. I deal the cards. The mind is endless. You put me in a dark, solitary cell. And to you, that's the end. To me, it's the beginning. It's a universe in there. There's a world in there. I'm free.
Interesting character.
Wow.
Where'd Courtney go?
I thought she was still there.
No, she's not here.
Uh-oh.
Interesting. Oh, well, Courtney disappeared. Okay,
oh,
then.
No.
Well, here's the next video.
I
tried to stop Nixon, and I stopped him dead in his tracks. I tried to stop the Vietnam War, and I did it. And I was convicted for being the father of this country. And all the things I did without breaking the law. Maybe I haven't done enough. I might be ashamed of that, for not doing enough.
As you get a lot of mail from people who want to follow you still.
Follow me? Did you have any choice? You'll all follow me. I don't. You know, you got these people over here that want to live. You want to live? Get in line, we'll live. You don't want to live? Hurry up. You know, the gate's open. You know, do your thing, man. Here, give them some Coke. All Charlie's friends get free Coke. Give them responsibility for the children that they said that I influenced. You know, you want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
What did you do?
I do the best thing I know how. Nothing. I play music and I smoke a little grass now and then because it helps me and I like to relax with it. That's about it.
Me too, Charlie.
Why don't you blame the little babies?
Mr. Emmons, this is a very...
I gotta take a Would you excuse me? Hey, you don't mind if I'm directing to the point, do you?
Not at all.
It don't take me to tell you that you're about 10 pounds overweight, does it?
Thanks.
But I can be honest with you, Ken. Drugs, LSD, I don't consider a drug. I don't consider peyote a drug. Those are more or less religiously significant awareness, mind-expanding apparatuses that come from the intelligence of the universe. The reason that the girls liked me was, hey now, I'm all around you, Hey now, up on your heart I can sing through you. And I play and I sing and they say, hey man, you got soul in that music. And I said, yeah, I play a little bit, you know. I like it. And they said,
that, by the way, is one of the songs you can hear on YouTube on this Charlie Manson music channel. Can't make this stuff up. She's actually, Courtney, where you going, kid? There she is.
I'm trying. I got knocked off. Trying to come back.
Well, I'm trying to hold on to you here.
man, you're really somebody. I said, oh, I am? Oh, I just got out of jail. I don't know what somebody is. They like my music. They say, man, we want to get you over. I said, get me over for what? They said, we take you down here to Beverly Hills and we want to get you in because you're a star. I said, I'm a what? They said, you're a star. So they took me to the Beach Boys. Brain, I did not break the law. Jesus Christ told you that 2,000 years ago. You don't understand me. That's your trouble. Not my fault because you don't understand me. I don't understand you either. But I don't spend my whole life trying to put the blame over on you because my cigarette didn't light or because something didn't work right. What do you want to call me a murderer for? I've never killed anyone. I don't need to kill anyone. I think it. I have it here. I don't need to live in this physical realm. I walk around in the physical realm, and I put on the faces, and I talk, and I play, and it's this big act, man. In the spiritual world is where I live. I exist in places you never even dreamed of. I'm just another guy walking down the road going, how many times I got to go to the where's God at? See, I've got a face like what is it? I'm an old man. All I want to do is retire. Get on the desert and be left alone. I don't want to bother nobody. I'm hiding out underneath the rock. They come to me and say, hey, Charlie. Hi. I said, what do you want? You want to talk? I said, about what? We got problems.
People look at you today, 20 years later, and they still have no idea what you're about. Tell me in a sentence who you are.
I'm nobody. I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight razor if you get too close to me.
Wow.
That's a loon.
Mm-hmm.
That's a guy who has completely lost touch with all semblance of reality. Courtney,
Yes.
your comments,
Yes.
please.
I think that at times he could turn it on and turn it off, but I think he was mentally ill and it got the best of him sometimes.
Well, it's interesting you say that because Amelia, and I'm sure you saw what everybody else saw.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show you that for a very stark comparison. There were segments in those interview clips where he was having just the most serious conversation and wasn't, screaming or jumping around like a loon or making faces, just having, particularly when he was talking about his childhood, because that hits him hard.
Yes, it did. You could really, really tell it did.
His mother was a prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know that or not. Did you aware of that, Courtney, that his mom was a hooker?
Yes.
Yeah, she was a prostitute. Let's see here. We have somebody in the chat room, Mr. Beckham. Newly released police documents and their book of the dead put this into the right perspective. Their vast criminally the family. Okay.
That's my partner.
And the point is what?
The point is on the Book of the Dead, it is detailed instructions on how to kill, how to survive. This is my personal opinion and a lot of others too. The Cielo murders were over drugs. That was a drug burn. Wojtek Frykowski had been dealing drugs ever since Sharon and Roman had left the country out of their house because the police were already watching him in Abigail's house. So he was dealing drugs. Mr. Beckham actually found a government document where Roman Polanski had shipped dangerous drugs to
that
Frykowski.
Stop. I know what you're talking about. That document has been proven a forgery. That is not a legitimate document. It is moot. It is not applicable. That document, the so-called Roman document, that is not a real document. It's been fabricated, completely made up. And the signatures and the statements on it never came from Roman Polanski. So now,
this is a shipping document where the trunks were shipped.
Yeah,
Sharon's belongings.
The document you're talking about is a forgery. It claims that Roman Polanski had a drug pipeline going from America to Europe, essentially is what it was. And that he supplied, high echelon individuals with drugs. That is not true.
I don't believe.
That happens to be the truth. Doesn't matter what you believe or not.
No, I don't believe that Roman was dealing drugs all over from Europe.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. In fact, he abhorred drugs. He absolutely detested drugs. You have to remember something as well. Roman Polanski was the would-be father of a pregnant Sharon Tate.
Yes.
Now, people, they need to remember that. They need to never lose sight of the fact that Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate were together for a long time. And they decided to have a baby. Well, her and her baby were both killed. And Roman Polanski just adored Sharon Tate and was loving the fact that he was going to be a father. Okay? I believe that's what set Roman off like he went. Because Roman soon after that would assault. Hello. She left us again.
I guess it's her connection. She keeps having trouble with her connection.
But what happened was that because of that, Roman Polanski kind of like lost his mind a bit, and he assaulted a young girl, 13 years old at the time. They deported him back to Poland. Even to this day, he's not allowed back in America.
Yes.
Ever. Yeah. He still makes movies. He still directs film.
But he has to do it overseas.
He's still alive. But he has to do it there.
Yeah.
You know, he's in his 80s now,
Mhm.
you know, but
Yeah.
still very much alive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and looking at the tapes with him with him Manson, I think he doesn't want to discuss his childhood because of the fact that his mom, of course, like you said, was a prostitute. She was an alcoholic as much as she would leave him with babysitters as much as she could, or even probably alone because her brother and her would go out drinking as often as she could, even when she went to AA to when she met her last husband, from what I
Mhm.
understand. Even when she was in AA, she still went out and partied no matter what.
Right.
And when he was out on his own, and that's when it pretty much all started because he didn't really know how to be on his own. He tried it for a little
Yeah.
bit when he was on Western Union, but it didn't work because he did not know how to really be a good person.
Mr. Beckham says this is a federal document.
Mhm.
I understand what you're saying,
Mhm.
Mr. Beckham. That document is a forgery. It's a fake, a fraud. It simply does not exist. Moving on.
Yes.
Interesting though
Mhm.
that we actually covered quite a bit tonight.
And he had children that actually one of his children, his sons changed his last name because he could not deal with that being Manson.
Charles Manson has 4 children.
Oh, one of his children could not handle being a Manson, so he had to change his last name.
He's got 3 sons and a daughter, believe it or not.
Yeah.
There is a young man. His name is Charles. I don't know. He decided to call himself Charles Manson Jr.
Yes.
But he is actually Charlie's son.
Mm-hmm.
There's another guy. He looks nothing like Charlie,
Oh.
but he must look like his mother.
They don't.
He's got red hair, kind of like what do they call him? Like a ginger. They call him people like that with red hair.
She says she keeps getting knocked offline. She apologizes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, no harm, no foul.
We understand. I'm just gonna tell her.
Yeah, go ahead. So here's what we're going to do.
Viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
The following content has been restricted by YouTube. Now you're going to see some interesting pictures and some disturbing pictures. You're going to see Sharon Tate's murder.
She's so beautiful.
Beautiful woman. She was only in her 20s, like 21, maybe 22. Young girl. I want you to take a look at this for a minute. Do you see what that headline said? 4 slayings. How did it say? Hold on. The 4 slayings.
In a ritual?
Yeah. Oh, Tate slayings blamed on hypnotized hippie.
Hippies.
Okay. It's interesting that they called them hippies, but they weren't really hippies. You know? Then they tried to connect them to a satanic cult. This is the very last known photograph of Charlie Manson before he died. In fact, it was taken not too much before he passed away. And he was 83. They wanted to make sure when they sentenced him to life in prison, they wanted to make sure that he was going to spend life in prison. Actually, they sentenced him to death, but Richard Nixon,
made sure
whether he knew it or not, was helping Manson. Strange case. Really bizarre. These are Charlie's Angels. That's the one to the far left. Content has been restricted by YouTube. Damn. What happened? Where'd you go?
Uh-oh.
I get it. Hold on. We'll get him back. Where's the girls? Oh, Charlie, where's the girls? Hold on. Okay. Gotta show them again. Hold on. Sorry, folks. Technology. It's live technology. Can't help it.
There they are.
There you go. Those are Charlie's Angels. That's Leslie Van Houten, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Lynette Squeaky Fromm.
And the one in the middle is the one that testified against all of them, correct?
Yes.
For her to
Yep.
go free.
And she's still in jail.
And
These are
there's
the
Mr. Tex.
part of the crew. This, believe it or not,
Mhm.
all 39 members of the Manson family. But wait a minute.
Mhm.
They're not a cult.
Hmm.
According to Courtney, they're not a cult. Trust me, they're a cult.
Oh, absolutely they
Believe
are.
me,
If
they're a
you're
cult.
taking money and from them, they're a cult.
Oh, yeah, they're a cult. That's Bobby Beaujolais.
The porn star, huh?
Yep. These are pictures. They're all still in jail, these people. Charlie Manson, 30 years old.
It's like, well, hello, I'm innocent.
Sure he is.
Oh my God.
That's Sharon Tate.
They left her like that. Oh my gosh.
They left her like that. Yes,
Like they
did.
took off her dress or whatever she had on.
Uh-huh. You can clearly see she's pregnant.
Absolutely, like almost 9 months pregnant, right? She was almost
Yeah.
9 months pregnant.
She was 9 months pregnant. Yeah.
About to give birth any day, pretty much.
That's what she looked like. Beautiful, beautiful girl.
Just gorgeous.
That's Leslie Van Houten.
Those are the innocent victims.
Those
Look
are
at
the
that.
victims. Let's talk about who they are. This is Stephen Perron, 18 years old.
Jeez.
Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, the hairdresser to the stars. Jay Sebring was a very sought after Hollywood hairstylist.
Oh, absolutely. He was
Gary
one
Hinman,
that-
Wojciech Frykowski, Abigail Folger, Lino and Rosemary LaBianco, and Ronald Shea. Those were
Yes.
the 9 people killed by the Manson family.
I studied them very well when I put the pictures together.
Yeah.
Great looking people.
That's Roman Polanski at the Sharon Tate's funeral. That's Squeaky Fromm. That's the woman that tried to shoot Gerald Ford. Look, I want you to look at this picture, Amelia. What do you notice about that photo?
He's very, very dirty. Like he's been out living on the streets.
Well,
for a
what's the
long
most
time.
obvious thing about that photo?
He looks like he has bloody clothes on.
No, you're missing the point.
And
He's standing in front of a police lineup.
Yeah.
He's 5'2".
At
okay?
least that, yeah.
Do you
with
see that where it
boots
says
on.
5 foot, 4 foot?
Yes. Uh-huh.
He's 5'2",
Uh-huh.
which is living proof that you don't have to be big and huge
No.
to hold a control of anybody.
No, you don't.
He's shorter than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's at least my height because I'm 5'2".
I'm an inch and a half taller than him.
Yeah, I'm 5'2". So
Probably the only person I'm bigger than was Charlie.
Uh-huh. Wow, he's short.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Another body. Yep. Those are stab wounds. Those are all stab wounds.
Wow.
The Manson girls,
Like right here.
love to use knives. They love to stab people.
Did they stab him in the skull? Because I noticed that a lot of stab wounds were
Yes,
in the
they stab
skull.
them everywhere. Under the arms, the armpits, the chest, the stomach, the face. Yeah, they did. They stabbed them everywhere.
Just to make sure he was dead. Basically.
Yeah, absolutely. They wanted to make sure that this person wasn't talking.
Mhm.
This is the family. They are in a cave
Mhm.
on Spawn's Ranch. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Mhm.
I want you to see the rest of this video. That's Leslie Van Houten. She will die in jail. They all will. That's Sharon Tate being taken out. That's Rosemary LaBianco.
She was so beautiful too.
Before and after.
Oh my gosh, she's so good.
Yep, they sliced her face open. Another victim of Manson. Time to go to court. Here they are.
Oh, I
when
remember
Charlie
this.
shaved his head, they all shaved their heads.
Yeah, I remember them talking about that.
Yeah.
What he did, they did. Follow the leader.
Yep. By the way, just so you know, Charlie Manson did that picture.
Really?
He drew that picture. He sure did. And that's his handwriting on there. He had really nice writing, believe it or not.
Did I do it? Do what?
But he was, again, loony as a jaybird. It's crazy, crazy people. That's Charles Manson's son.
The one that changed his last name, I believe.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's his mother. Her name is, oh God.
I can't remember her name, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a, I thought her name was Patricia.
Patricia. That's what I was going to say. Patricia.
Yeah.
They called her Patty or something.
Patty, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one son.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like his mother.
Yes, he does. Around the
Now
eyes,
watch this.
especially. That's his other
Charles
son.
Manson Jr.
Junior. Yeah. Looks just like him.
Want to talk about a chip off the old block?
Mm-hmm.
This guy's fucking scary looking.
Very.
It's like day and night.
Mm-hmm.
And they're brothers. These are family members. Where do you see who some of these people were? The last one's going to surprise you.
Really? Oh, wow.
Deanna Martin.
Oh,
Dean
wow.
Martin's daughter was a Manson cult member.
Wow.
And she's still alive. And she's on Facebook. And she sings and she dances. And she's as loony as Charlie was. Yep.
That would surprise me.
Yeah, exactly.
Surprise me.
But we want to, now that we saw some of those people, let's take a look at some of the people that are not here now. LaBianco, Sharon Tate, Terry Melcher, Wojtek Frykowski, Steve Parent, Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, and Donald Shea. They are the victims. Let us not forget the victims.
No.
In the Charles Manson case. We will not, of course, we will not now, nor will this show ever excuse the actions of Charles Manson.
No.
I don't care what you choose to call him on this show. He is a sick lunatic, a murderer, a twisted fuck. He's dead now. May God have mercy on his soul. I could say that for most of us.
Yes.
But I don't care what you say. That's a cult.
Yes. No matter how many
you can slice it or dice it. You can spin it any way you want to spin it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cult.
Yes.
39 members, that's a cult. That's not just a few friends hanging out.
And if you're going to solicit people for prostitution, you're going to solicit people for prostitution, you're going to take their money, the wages that they make,
tell you about
whatever,
that, Amelia.
that's going to be.
I'm glad you brought that up. You're talking about soliciting prostitution.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie, one of the things that Charlie liked to do was to recruit young teenage girls, 16, 17.
He did. Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they're the perfect age for an older guy to have sex with rob him of his money, get him drunk, or maybe get him dead, and take his wallet, take his credit cards, take his cash, throw the wallet away, and okay, you're going to eat now. Now you got some money. You know you're going to eat for a while,
Oh, yes.
and you use the guy's credit card till you can't anymore, or until somebody finds you out.
Yeah. And he would
And that's what they did.
Yes, and he would use the girls he had to recruit them. And then he'd come up to him and say, "Oh, come on, honey, you're so sweet. You'll belong here." He'd caress him like this. "You'll be so
Absolutely.
good
That's
here."
another thing. Let's tell everybody what we learned.
Oh, yeah.
About...
He
Go ahead.
sweet
Tell
talk
everybody what we
them.
learned.
He would sweet talk them. He would use them and use them for sex as well. Say, you'll have it made here. You'll be taken care of here. You'll have everything you want here, and don't worry, your parents didn't want you. He'll brainwash them, manipulate them, and have them do his bidding for him, so he wouldn't have to get his hands dirty. Basically,
Yeah.
he'll get out scot free and wouldn't have to do anything. Basically, he'll just sit there like this, like a king, like a god, like he would think of himself with.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not right, because, yeah, of course, you're going to have everybody else do your bidding,
Well,
but in the long
nothing that
run, you'll
Charlie
be
did was the first. Let me make a little correction to you. Nothing Charlie did was right.
No, nothing he did was right, but that's what he would think to tell them. He would think to
Yeah.
himself, I would do nothing wrong, and I would get everybody else's hands dirty but mine. But basically, he was getting his hands dirty, and he
Well,
would
yeah.
and he would have everybody else do his bidding for him. And guess what? He'd just sit there like a king, like everybody else. He'd have everybody bring him
Yeah.
whatever he wanted, and everybody else eat when he wanted them to
Yeah.
eat, just like any cult, basically.
Well, yeah, kind of. It's if the leader does it,
They have to do it.
Yeah. But there were some things that the leader did that you weren't allowed to do.
Exactly.
As we're going to find out Thursday night with David Koresh.
Yes.
You're going to find out that David Koresh kind of changed the rules for cults.
Oh,
a
yeah.
little
The
bit.
wives part.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, boy. A lot of the people, by the way, folks, we're talking about Manson and David Koresh.
That's too different.
Thursday night, we are having a special episode on the siege at Waco, the Branch Davidians at Waco, Texas, led by the magnanimous David Koresh, another one who thought he was a prophet sent by God, another one who thought he was the modern day Jesus. That's what they call themselves. And I've said this before. When you start labeling yourself as God, you're going to piss off God. You ain't going to be around long. Look what happened to Amy Carlson.
Yes.
Look what happened to David Koresh. The one thing that Charlie Manson never did, think about it. He never said he was God.
No.
He never said that.
No.
He said a lot of other stuff, but he never
Right. Not a lot of stuff. Nope.
he never said he was God.
Right.
Isn't that funny?
Right.
Because I think Charlie feared
To say
God's
that.
wrath. I
Because
really
of
think he feared God's wrath.
Well,
I
look what
do.
happened to the other people that said that, and he thought, you know what? I'm not saying that, because he lived a long life in prison, but
He lived 83 years. He lived. How did I broke it down? By the time he was 40,
Yes.
by the time he was 40, he already spent 31 years in jail.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah. But that
think
right.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. You're 40 years old, but you've already spent 31 of your 40 years alive in jail.
So 10-year childhood, which was pretty bad childhood anyway, might as well
went
say.
to juvenile jail when he was 9 years old.
So, but
9.
yeah. Yeah. So he pretty much didn't have a childhood, just like he said.
And that's when he got serious. That's the only time during the interviews that you saw him really to talk seriously.
Yes.
When he talked about his childhood, growing up, getting beat by his mother and his uncle.
The
Um,
leather straps that he was talking
oh
about.
man, you know, you don't know whether, and it's a hard place to be, folks, because
It
you
is.
don't know whether to feel sorry for a guy that grows up like that, or knowing what he did. You know, I mean, it's a, you know what I'm saying? It's a hard thing to. Do you feel sorry for him?
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
Because his mom got pregnant at the age of 15 to
Yeah.
somebody,
But
and
then you have to say to yourself, Amelia, well, how sorry can I feel for him? Because he chose to do this for the rest of his life.
exactly, he could have
So
stopped. He
at
could have.
some point, you have a choice. You can go legit, or you look. He got a legit job at Western Union.
Yes, he could have
But
stayed
he
there.
wanted money in his pocket. So what did he do? Him and his buddy, they stole a car. They got a gun. They're robbing people, robbing banks or whatever.
Right.
You know, holding people up. Yeah. I mean, if you put a gun to my face, I'll give you my wallet.
Right.
I'll give you every fucking credit card. I'll even tell you the PIN numbers.
All right. Yeah, because once you
Okay.
turn 18, you can't really control your children because you've already done the raising. It's up to them to do what they're going to do because you've already raised them.
Exactly.
It's
And that's
their
what people
decision.
don't understand.
Yeah.
You do have a choice.
Exactly.
You have a choice in life.
There's
it
a
is
right
your,
and there's a wrong. You choose.
and that's really what it comes down to. There's right and wrong. And you
Yes.
make a choice to either continue or or you stand on your own 2 feet and take your lumps,
Yes.
or you become a guy like Charlie Manson that spends his entire life in jail.
Courtney did say she was not able to get back on, but she wanted me to say thank you for having her on the show, and she really appreciated talking to everyone on the show. So she wasn't able.
Okay.
But
Mr. Beckham wants to be a guest on the show. Well, you have an open invite. Absolutely.
He's and Courtney said she kept get bumping off, but she said she really said thank you for letting her be on the show. She appreciated
Yes, and
coming on the show.
absolutely, and she is absolutely welcome back, and love to have her back, and love to have Mr. Beckham on the show. According to what I'm reading here, Mr. Beckham is some sort of a federal investigator in Texas. If that's the case, we'll find out. If that's the truth, I'm sure it is, but we have to double check, because I'm not going to have anybody on the show misrepresent themselves, especially law enforcement. We don't do that. We'll never do that on the show. Look, we talk some shit on this show, but we also are above board legally.
Yes.
We don't get into no legal shit with nothing.
No, absolutely not.
Everything is checked and double checked.
Absolutely.
So that being said, Amelia,
yes,
tell everybody what's coming up.
We have a wonderful episode tomorrow. Actually, it's a special episode. We normally are only on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, but we have a special guest. I've never had her on the show. I'm excited to meet her for the first time. Miss Mary Ann. She is, and also we're going to actually have back on as well another special guest that I have actually met before. And of course, Ann Watkins, and of course, we have Mary Ann Howard. We've had her on the show before. We're going to be talking about the Shadow series, part 2.
The Shadow series. Let me tell everybody what the Shadow series is.
You could show the books, please, again, if you don't mind.
Oh, you want me to show the books?
Yes.
Okay, hold up.
Yes.
I got to leave my studio. Hold on.
And we're going to be discussing wonderful books that these two wonderful ladies have written, and discuss a little bit more. So Angela's gonna be showing up books here in just a moment.
Couple of books here, and I'm gonna tell you something. These are not little books. They are. You see how thick these books are?
Yes.
They look like phone directories. The first book. This is called Shadow of a Base Man, written by Ann Walsh and Mary Ann Howard. This takes us through a journey through the life of Paul McCartney through Paul's eyes.
Yes.
People may or may not know that the rumor for the longest time was that Paul McCartney died in the real Paul McCartney died in 1966. There seems to be quite a bit of mounting evidence that is true. I certainly have believed that it's true.
Yes, I have
I
too.
first became aware of this back in the middle 60s, 67, around there, 68. I was probably like 10, 11.
And I've done my research as well and coming across and talking with the ladies, and I've also believe it's true as well.
The second book is called Shadow Dancing, Rise of a Bassman. And if you're lucky enough to get the version, because there's a couple versions here.
Yes.
If you're lucky enough to get the first edition, well, then you'll be lucky enough to find I Am Acknowledged in the book. I also wrote the foreword for the book, and I'll show you that.
Yes. And while he's looking for that as well, I want to let you know that on October 6th, Thursday, we'll have as he was talking about Waco, Texas, David Koresh as well. We're gonna, and that's gonna be an interesting show as he was talking about. We're not gonna give too much away because we kind of did a little bit.
There's the foreword.
Yes, look at that.
I wrote the foreword to the book, and I also wrote. Let me get there.
Yes.
The liner notes on the back.
Absolutely.
Here's my name. Say it.
Yes.
Second me and Angelo. That's me. Hello there. So, yeah, they are. I love these books, by the way. Not only did I enjoy being a part of them, I love the content. I love reading them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Marianne and Anne, the first podcast they ever did was my podcast together.
Yes.
That was a great thrill. And ever since we've been buddies.
Yes.
And I think it looks like I might be losing you to them for a time or two. I think.
No, just one podcast. They want me to just talk about the books for a little bit, and I'll be representing the show.
Oh,
well.
You'll be back and forth.
No, just one, I promise. So I get to meet Ann Walsh for the first time. So I'm excited about that.
Discovered. Shut up. I'm trying to get you discovered. I'm trying to put you over here.
Hey, this is my baby. This is my baby here.
Well, look, this you did help nurture this show. You were there at the beginning, and so it's kind of your baby. Absolutely, you're the producer for sure.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to meet Ann Walsh for the first time. And
Annie's a nice lady, sweet lady. She's a really good girl.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got a lot going on. We got oh man, we got a full month of October.
I'm excited about that.
I am trying.
Halloween month.
I'm trying so hard to get on the show a former cult member from Love Has Won. I'm waiting to hear back. You have to understand, folks, this cult is called Love Has Won. It was founded by a woman named Amy Carlson. She calls herself Mother God. She's dead now. If you were lucky enough to be with us last week, we showed Amy Carlson. And that was rather gross. She was in a state of decay. Her followers wrapped her up. Amelia, remember? They wrapped her up in Christmas lights and put silver glitter in her eyes.
Very much so.
And when she died, they left her on the bed and just let her rot there. And they worshipped her mummy. She became a mummy. Her skin turned blue. Remember? It looked like
blue. It looks like she looked so bad. It looked like an alien. And if
she did, she looked like an alien.
And if they had not reported her being there, who knows how long she would have stayed there.
She was already there for, they say, at least a month.
Yes, and who knows how long.
The police coroner, or I'm sorry, not the police coroner. The coroner said she was there at least a month.
And who knows how long she would have been there if they had not found
I
her.
read one estimate that says up to maybe 4 months, up to 4 months. And I happen to believe that one. And the reason I do is because the tremendous state of decay that body was in. It didn't look real. It was completely mummified.
Yeah, because didn't one of the detectives?
I wonder if I have. You know what? Hold on a second. Amelia.
Didn't the police say, one of the officers say that they had painted her, and the other one said no, that's decay. I mean, don't they know the difference between paint and decay? I mean, not.
Yeah, you know what? I have. I have it. Here you go.
Yeah, because I want them to hear what the officers say about the paint and the decay.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to show that.
So authorities have released body cam video of their discovery of the mummified remains of an alleged.
This is what Amelia and I were just telling you about. Amy Carlson. Right? This is her bedroom where she died. She's still in that. She's in that bed, by the way.
Cult leader.
I think decount mummification.
And the police cannot.
The Sawash County Sheriff's Department says 45-year-old Amy Carlson's body was found wrapped in a sleeping bag and decorated.
See, right there's her eyes right there. And you can't even tell where the nose used to be right there in the middle, but that's where the nose is right there in the center.
Yeah.
And the eyes, you could tell that she looks like an alien.
Let's put it this way. She was there so long, her eyes rotted away. I want you to, I hate to be gross, folks, but her eyes literally rotted out.
With Christmas lights back in April, her eyes were covered in glitter. She was the leader of Love Has Won, based in Moffett, Colorado. Reports say a group member told authorities a dead body was in the house where Carlson and other members lived. 2 children were also found in the house. At the time, 7 members were charged with tampering with a deceased human body, abuse of a corpse, and misdemeanor child abuse, but the district attorney has since dropped all charges in the case. Dr. Phil interviewed Carlson in 2020 about alleged claims of abuse by her made by former members of Love Has Won.
You whores!
What is it that upsets you the most?
Where the upset comes from me is when, as I serve love every day, and I am in love in action every moment. That is my role. I've been like that since I was born, serving love.
The coroner still hasn't been able to determine Carlson's cause of death and has reportedly ordered extensive laboratory tests.
That's just crazy shit. Okay, then that's crazy stuff.
Yeah, if you get a chance to freeze that frame of her and then look at it closely, you'll see what we're talking about, the eyes and her nose. And
nuts. It's like, how do you even, how do you explain that to somebody?
I know if you even have an idea of someone that used to be in her cult, let us know about that. Let Angelo know. And they're not afraid to be on the show. Let him know.
Yeah,
be on the show.
Please. Absolutely. If you know anyone associated with Love Has Won, I want to know immediately.
Yes. Or even if
I want you on the show. If you know somebody or a person who was connected with Love Has Won,
or you yourself have been on,
or if you have been a member of a cult, I want you on the show. It's important that we have you here. I want your story out there.
Yes, because we want to hear your version of it, what you experienced, and we'll handle it as much as as good as we can for you. And please let us know. Tell us your side of the story. We'd love to hear it.
Well, Amelia, it's that time we got to say goodbye to everybody. Yes. On behalf of Amelia, Pitbull, Chapman, I'm the Mad Dog. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
That's